I'm Alara.
I'm Alex.
And today we're going to be talking about Litha, or Litha. I prefer to call it Litha.
I like Litha. That's probably because it's the first way I heard it.
Yeah, and Litha, I don't know, it sounds right to me, and it reminds me of the word life. So, but this whole holiday is basically about the summer solstice, which is when the sun
is in the sky the longest.
Mm-hmm. So the days are the longest of the year. And then from that point past that day, the days are going to start getting shorter and shorter.
And the nights get longer.
And the nights get longer.
To welcome in fall and winter and all that jazz.
So, just to briefly let y'all know before we get too much into this video, up until this point, I don't think either one of us have really celebrated Litha all that much.
I, in general, don't really celebrate the holidays in traditional senses. I might acknowledge or do some light, but I'm not sitting there doing a big old festival kind of
Comfy boo?
thing. The closest, like I was telling her earlier, was when I was part of a group of practitioners. We kind of did like a feast or a little get-together around that time of year, but that was about it. Nothing too specific.
Same thing. I really hadn't celebrated this time of year a lot, but this is a time of year that has always been very nostalgic for me, because especially here where I'm from in the States, is summer is all about spending time with family because the kids are out of school for summer break. So this time of year was always like going out to the lake and swimming together, having backyard barbecues and picnics, you know, eating watermelon, drinking lemonade, sweet tea, you know, just basically spending time together as a family, going camping out in the wilderness or out in the backyard, you know, with nature.
Wow, that just triggered, like, I just got, like, the weirdest nostalgia of, I grew up in California, and we had this lake near where I lived, that, and then another lake, but we would go, so I just got, like, a big whiff of sunblock. And back then, the thing my mom always took for as a treat were those little caramel green apple lollipops. Like, they were a lot more common to have then than they are now. Like, sometimes nowadays, I don't even know where to buy them. But we used to get those all the time, like the big old bag from Costco or wherever, and those would last, you know, the whole year or whatever. But she would just pack a few for after lunch, and I was just like, But yeah.
So yeah, more than celebrating the actual day, which this holiday can also be known as Midsummer to those of you that are not necessarily part of the Wiccan community. I think Litha or Litha is more the name for the Wiccan community for this particular holiday, but other pagans may refer to it just as the summer solstice or as Midsummer, which I believe Midsummer is actually really popular in Sweden.
Yeah, we were reading something about that. So, like we said, so Europe tends to have more names about it, where in America as a whole it's not celebrated really, except for, like we said, picnics, barbecues, stuff like that, but it's more of a seasonal thing than
a one-day holiday. It's just more of a general overall feeling of that season for us. So I think that's kind of what helped me connect to the idea of Midsummer once I started actually looking at the Wheel of the Year. Because for the most part, I don't really identify with the Wheel of the Year other than I identify very heavily with Samhain and with Yule. But a lot of that is because it associates a lot of what I already connected it to before I began my witchy path. Which, for this video, not only are we just kind of generally talking about Midsummer as a holiday, what it is, but it's also the idea of what corresponds with it, so that for those of you that do celebrate or want to celebrate the holiday, you can maybe have some ideas for just different associations that are attributed to this particular time of year that may help you get into the mood or help you celebrate it in a way that is meaningful to you.
No, that's pretty much what's up.
Yeah.
So I think we're just going to dive right into correspondences and stuff.
So, basic place to start is always colors. Normally for this time of year, because Midsummer is all about celebrating the energy of the sun, of the masculine. I think that things like yellow or orange or even red are very very in tune with
the
this.
sun. Yeah, sun, fire, male. Quick note, because I have seen, which is why I think this is more Wiccan than other traditions, because I have seen other traditions where the sun is the female embodiment of energy and the moon is male. It's not as common, but there are some that I've seen where the sun, because it is life-giving in essence, is related to the female as well as like the earth.
That's interesting.
So I've seen both, but Litha is considered more masculine because in most traditional witch paths, Wiccan paths, masculine is the solar energy.
Which would explain why, in some instances, I have seen solar goddesses such as Amaterasu associated with this particular holiday or this time of year. So that makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
But some other gods and goddesses that are associated with this particular time of year are mostly solar gods and goddesses like Ra, Apollo, Sol. I think there's a god or goddess named Sol that I've seen. So.
Yeah,
generally ones like that are in the Celtic pantheon, Dagda, or Daga. I have a hard time pronouncing.
Yeah, Celtic stuff's weird.
But he's like the father of the pantheon, so to speak. But I believe he is also a sun god. Don't quote me on that. I don't really work with any other deities other than my lady, so I don't want to offend anybody.
Yeah, and I don't happen to work with solar energy in general either, so I don't have a lot of... She just named all the ones I would have thought to name and then some.
Well, you are kind of a vampire. You go out in the sunlight and just...
Yeah, it hurts me.
You are a moon baby.
Yeah, I always related to the fact that I was born during a solar eclipse. There was no sun when I was born.
That's still so cool.
Yeah, so I was like, it was dark. There was nothing going on, so I'm just like, yeah. Anyway, we digress. We don't want to get too many tangents on this thing.
Yeah.
One of the things about the color is wearing the color. We're just trying to celebrate or trying to celebrate on the down low. It's a really easy way to just wear bright colors, red, orange, yellow. Basically the rainbow, honestly, the brighter half of it. Because we've even seen instances of blue and green. Mm-hmm. Because you're thinking of summer days, grassy fields,
the
big
sky,
trees.
The grass,
You know, bright blue sky, no rain. Clear skies, sunny days, big trees. One of the things I actually saw, and I was thinking about doing it as like a little mini video, was people like to take nature walks to see the sunrise and to see it set on that day, because both of those moments are very important on the day of Litha. And then one little quick thing that I also saw was, if you have anything that can charge by solar energy, that is the day to do it.
Yeah, that's when you want to jam pack it. And actually, I think that's the best. This is the best time to make. Everyone talks about moon water or storm water, all those other waters. Solar water, like sun water. Holy crap! Can you get some stuff done with some sun water?
Yeah. So anything related to the sun, charging, making stuff, imbibing stuff, whatever, anything like that. That is definitely one of the days.
Which actually, I think this is probably a really good time to talk about some other things and activities that you can do to help celebrate or kind of get in the spirit of this time of the year. One of the big things for me, because this is something that my grandmother used to do growing up, is she would make sun tea, which is basically like making regular tea, except instead of steeping it in like boiling water, you basically put your water and your tea and whatever flavoring you want in a mason jar, and you stick it out and you let it steep by
sunlight.
Yeah, by like the brightest time of the day for at least 5 hours, and then you bring it in.
So tea made on that day is probably going to be some pretty magical stuff.
That would be wonderful for tea magic, especially if you want to do it for like a confidence or,
Yeah, and then we were just reading about the honeymoon thing, and I was just thinking if you put a big old dollop of honey in that sun tea, yeah. I'm sure it's extra powerful.
Which, that being said, the midsummer full moon is known as the honeymoon. Like, everyone talks about like the wolf moon and, all those
strawberry moon.
The strawberry moon, the harvest moon. So the midsummer full moon is actually known as the honey moon, which I thought was rather cute.
Yeah, we were doing a little reading. You were doing a little reading on that because I had asked too, like, did that have anything to do with our traditional thought of the honeymoon?
Which summer solstice does also have strong ties to hand fasting ceremonies and things like that. Other things for this particular time of the year just to help celebrate, I would say almost any activity that you would do outside, like going camping, going fishing, picking flowers, or going and doing. If you live out in, like, the country, this time of year is really good for, like, strawberry picking and things like that.
Yeah, picking and eating any fruit or vegetable that's in season is a good way to celebrate, especially on the down low, because, like you said, strawberries, things like peaches, like a lot of tree-bearing fruit grows right now.
That and citrus is very, very big, especially at this time of year.
Yeah, oranges and lemons would probably be some of the better things to do.
Because they're also associated with solar energy.
So is grapefruit, but I know a lot of people that can't have grapefruit, actually, because it does, like, if you're on a lot of medications, you can't have grapefruit. Or grapefruit juice.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it reacts badly. And I don't like grapefruit, so, hey, there you go. But yeah.
I've also seen people make, like, honey cakes and things like that. So just simply like making yourself some, like, lemon cookies or a lemon cake. Like, there are some subtle ways that you can celebrate this particular holiday.
So yeah, if you're talking food, like you said, honey cakes and stuff, so any food that uses citrus or the color correspondences would probably be good food. So maybe if you like bell peppers, those come in red, orange, yellow. So you could probably do like a quick toss-up with some veggies and some chicken or something.
Yeah, if you're a kitchen witch and you prefer to do it with your cooking, I think salads or, like you said, cooking with anything like bell peppers, things like that, or cooking with citrus.
Especially if you do fish. Fish and lemon go really well together.
But that's cute. Also, if you like mead is supposed to be a very big solar drink, like sun energy.
As long as you're legal to drink. Hey, disclaimer: we don't want none of these. If any kids watch this, man. Yeah, mead is alcohol, children. So you can't have it unless you're 21. I almost said 18.
There are places that allow you to drink if you're 18.
Europe.
In the States, you have to be 21.
Yeah, Europe. If you're in Europe, you can probably drink at 16, though. But anyway, we digress.
But there are other things, like, I associate, like daffodils or dandelions. I associate those with this time of year, with the sun. I want to say, like, sunflowers. I love sunflowers this time of year. And actually, one of the best ways I used to kind of tie in with this time of year is I would always start tossing out sunflower seeds for the birds and seeing if any got missed and would grow. That was something I used to do with my grandfather.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
sunflowers, for whatever reason, are one of the easiest things I've ever tried to grow. Like, as long as nothing eats them, they'll pretty much grow. Like,
I don't know. I love sunflowers. They just make me happy.
I think that they're just bright and yellow. Yellow in general is supposed to make, psychologically speaking, is supposed to be a happy, bright, energizing color. So,
which there are also some herbs that correspond with this time of year too. I think one of them was like yarrow and mugwort and things like that. But also St. John's wort is also been associated heavily with this particular holiday. I think some of that may tie back into the Christian aspects of it with possibly John Baptist, but
not sure. And then the flower itself
100%.
is yellow, isn't it? So
the flower itself is very bright
yellow. And then as far as, again, I've seen people use a lot of lavender in the recipes this time of year. A lot of just herby stuff, honey.
Well, it's also the fact that St. John's wort is also good against depression, so lifting your spirits, brightening your disposition, so things like that. I think that may also have something to do with it.
I can see it. I'm not sure, but I would think maybe marigolds. Just
I would associate marigolds.
They're golden, and I've tried to grow marigolds before.
I think most flowers that are associated with the sun or with fire energy, I think go very, very well with this time of year.
Especially anything that grows well in direct sunlight probably is good for that stuff. Because there's a lot of plants that don't like it, but
which actually, if y'all are gardening inclined, you know, maybe doing something special for your garden at this time would be a really good way for you to kind of celebrate a little on the down low.
Yeah, and speaking of that, since it is a really hot day, if you guys have anything that's sensitive to the sun, make sure you give it some extra water that day so they don't crisp up and fry. Because I've had things that I was like, oh, this will be fine. 2 days later, it's dead. I'm like, oh, God.
But yeah, so I think, you know, doing anything with like picking flowers or arranging flowers or painting. If you, maybe today you can paint a sun scene, or, you know, paint a field of flowers or things like that. Like, I don't know. I like to do arts and crafts around certain things.
Be crafty.
Be crafty. Oh, one of the things that I really want to do at some point during this time of year is make a sun catcher. I would love to make a sun catcher. I think, like, having the sunlight coming through and, like, casting...
That kind of reminds me of the Hunchback of Notre Dame when he has, like, the stuff hanging in his little room.
Yes.
Sparkly.
Yes. And, oh my God, I've always had a love of stained glass. Like, it makes me happy on the inside.
It's always really pretty.
It also reminds me of the kaleidoscopes we used to have as a kid.
Yeah, like the... One of my friends had one of those, like, old-timey ones, like the metal ones.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, he just got it at, like, a lot sale or something. Like, yeah, it was real neat. I was like, oh, man, that's cool.
But yeah, I think any activity that you do, like, out in nature or out in the sun, I think is really a good way to practice bringing in that midsummer energy into your life. Also, there are some stones that you can use for this particular time of year that would make good correspondence. One of my favorites, which I use all the time, is Citrine. Citrine is a sunstone. It's very bright and happy, and it is closely associated with the sun. It is one of those crystals that does not need to be cleansed, and it can cleanse other stones. So I use this a lot for cleansing my tarot decks. And I use it a lot in crystal grids, specifically for bringing in happiness, bringing in that sun and solar energy. Why would you show me that?
I literally was the first thing that came up when I typed in Pyrite.
What's wrong with you?
What's wrong with Google?
Don't explain yourself to me. Explain yourself to them. They just think that we're, like, crazily freaking out for no reason.
So, we were talking...
Don't die.
Been sick for a minute. We were talking earlier how this time of year is very masculine oriented, and I looked up Pyrite because it's one of the stones I'm going to talk about here in a second because it's very sun. It's fool's gold, like, so it's gold. It's very this, you know, all this kind of energy. And the very first image Google came up with is Pyrite in the shape of
a phallic symbol.
Male parts. Yeah, what she said. And I had to show her because I was like, it's literally the first thing.
Which is not what I expected to be looking at when she's like, hey, look, and I turned my head. And it was like, boom, it's there. I was like, oh. Okay. So we're doing this now.
Yeah. So, there we go. You were talking about Citrine, though, so back to what you were talking about.
Well, it's kind of hard to go back to Citrine after that. But you were mentioning that you're about to talk about Pyrite. But go ahead and talk about that, but that reminds me of another one to mention.
So, we've all seen, like, I have other pieces of Pyrite. I'm sure, like, the fool's gold looking chunks are most common. But Pyrite grows in a lot of different shapes. I've even seen it growing in sun shapes. Like, it's looks like a round circle that got squished, basically. But it does grow that way. But in one of the other ways it grows is cubes, which I find very strange. Things that grow in cubes just kind of fascinate me. So I have this piece. It's a little dull. It's not too exciting to look at. I just liked it because it's square and I like squares. But this piece is literally how you can find Pyrite just growing.
It's almost a mirror.
Yeah, it's shiny. Like, it's very reflective. It's very shiny. So yeah, the fact that it's golden and then...
And it's mirror smooth.
I keep them in this thing. I should show this in our wish haul thing. But yeah, so that fits rocks. Look at that. So I've had a lot of Pyrite. I don't always remember exactly what Pyrite's good for. But it's for gold, so it's good for success, money, that kind of stuff. It's also really good for protection, which I wouldn't have Anytime I think of protection, I think of black stones, if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have jumped to Pyrite as for protection.
I've never really used a whole lot of Pyrite, but I've always had the feeling that it would be very good for use in, like, creativity stuff. For whatever reason.
Yeah, because it's like that yellow-orange. It's kind of in your... You're talking about citrine. Citrine's really good for the solar plexus chakra.
Well, yeah.
Which hits you about
I'm talking about Pyrite.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, anything in those color aspects are going to hit you in
For the most part.
In this... What is that? What's 2? Sacral?
Sacral.
Yeah, sacral or the solar plexus are going to hit in those chakras a lot. You might get into some of the reds, which are going to hit the root chakra a little bit, but a lot of the yellow and orange are going to hit 2 and 3 versus 1, which sun stuff is mostly related to the solar plexus more than anything else, chakra-wise.
Which actually, bouncing back, there are some stones that are for the sacral chakra, the orange one, that are also closely related with, like, solar energy. One of those being carnelian, and that's one that I really enjoy and I use a lot. I actually have it on my bracelet here. Let's see if I can put that cup down safely. So this orange stone right here, that's carnelian. Although carnelian can also be a little redder, like this one right here. That one's also carnelian. And I've seen it as almost like a dark, dark red as well. But, okay.
I'm sorry.
Bitter?
My tea smells delicious, but it doesn't taste delicious.
It's because she forgot to put in honey before it cooled down, and now it's too cool to put honey in. Which,
anyway,
I did not make that mistake, and it's delicious with honey. Which, actually, why don't you show them what it is? I think you put it in that bag.
There we go.
Oof. But it's actually in a very pretty tin.
And it smells wonderful.
And it smells wonderfully, like, flowery but sweet.
So that's the tea we're both drinking, actually, and it came in... She actually found this while we were shopping at TJ Maxx. And then I just kind of have a thing going for... I've always kind of liked Alice in Wonderland stuff, but I thought that was neat. Well, Cheshire Cat back there, but it smells great because it has hibiscus in here. Mm-hmm. It's black tea with hibiscus, basically. And then it has cornflower petals, but I don't think
it's got blue cornflower petals in it, too. But it just
smells beautiful and flowery and amazing, and then I go to drink and it tastes flowery and not so amazing.
I mean, it's fine for me, but I like a wider range of teas than she does.
You also put like half a gallon of honey in there.
For this one, yes. But remember, I used to drink my grass tea without any honey or sweetener? But anyway, so carnelian is also another stone that I strongly associate with this particular time of year because it's very warm, it's very powerful, it's very energy, but solar energy centered. So that would be a really good one.
And then...
I think Boo saw a squirrel.
That little puppy that's been on our videos for the last couple of years.
Yeah, my mom's dog. I'm puppy sitting.
Hence the change of background currently, because we moved to make life easier.
Yeah.
Was that it for the stone? Oh, emeralds. Hello. Hello.
You've got one and I've got one.
Yeah. So we were talking about stones. We just talked about the pyrite and the carnelian, and we were mentioning emerald. Emerald is one of those just green stones. I guess it's related because it's green, it's earthy, it's the vibes for the season. And that kind of goes along with it's this shade of green. And then if you have a polished piece because you happen to have nice jewelry, that would work just as well, obviously. And then you've got the other stone here. I'm just going to pull up a couple.
The last one is actually called Sunstone. I used to have one that was a whole piece of it, but for this instance, since that one was stolen from me, I borrowed Alex's. So this bit right here, the orange bit on the top, that's Sunstone, and it is heavily associated with the sun and solar energy. It's a very golden feel to it. But all of those are different stones that are involved with or have associations with the sun, and therefore it would work beautifully for this time of year. And then we have one more
kind of thing that I just thought of because all this talk of masculine and sun energy. One of my cousins actually she studies yoga and she's a yoga instructor as far as other things go. And I was thinking of, I used to practice yoga, and there is a lot of sun calling, masculine poses. There's a lot of that energy in yoga, as long as with the moon and the feminine, but we're just talking sun and male.
And actually, I really like the idea of using yoga to invite, the sun and masculine into your life in an everyday way, because I feel like, especially with my own practice and maybe with others' practice, there's a lot of emphasis on the moon and on the feminine, and I feel like the sun energy kind of gets shoved off to the side and kind of, neglected a little bit. So this would be a wonderful way to bring some of that in on a more everyday basis. So I'm going to let you talk about that.
Yeah, so I asked her for some poses because I did study yoga, but not to the point where I could really recall things. And she did actually offer to do a video for us, so it's probably going to be on her channel, but we will link it as soon as that video goes up. And so some of the poses she gave me, which she might talk about other poses in her video, but for masculine energy, the warrior poses, and I believe it goes to warrior 3. I don't know if there's anything past warrior 3, just because the progression starts at one pose, you're just kind of out with your straight arms, and then there's more bend and stuff as you progress through that. She also mentioned the Crescent Pose. I'm not entirely sure what that one is. We'll insert pictures too, but then she said she would do that video just so y'all could see it being done. If any of you follow the yoga. As far as sun energy, she said there was the sunflower pose, which I also don't really recall. The dancer pose I have done. I think it's something like the tree pose. But again, pictures will be inserted later. And for more simple poses, especially for people that don't really do a lot of yoga on the regular, and I don't want anyone to hurt themselves, because stretching can hurt if you do it wrong. So, upward dog and cobra, which cobra is, in my own opinion, just a more intense version of upward dog, because you're on your wrists, kind of arching your back up, and you're kind of facing upward, kind of towards the sun. So there's other ways to put stuff in your practice, and I might get people that, oh, yoga's a different spirituality, but is it though? I think spirituality is kind of its own thing, and you can adopt things as long as you're respectful and stuff to it, because...
Well, that, and I think a lot of people associate the movement of the body with energy and with the sun and with, kind of that warmth, like things like bonfires, dancing around bonfires, dancing in general, even without a bonfire. Those are things that are really associated with this time of year, but also with the feelings of the sun, with those lower chakras, yeah.
Yeah, the bonfire thing actually is something they used to celebrate a lot. That's actually one of the things they used to do, was bring their livestock and pass it, not through the fire, obviously, but around the fire, just to kind of get the blessings of the sun and of the energy to kind of get you through the winter so you wouldn't freeze and die. Basically, is really what that was for, is just keep a little fire in your heart to keep it going through the cold months. So, anything that really associates that to you is a good way to celebrate, honestly. Just bring that fire.
I know, right? But were there any others, or are we good?
I think we're good. A lot of the other stuff is more Wiccan, and we're not that, so we don't want to intrude on things we're not a part of.
Yeah. So I hope that you really enjoyed this, and hopefully you'll stick around for other videos, and hopefully there will be a yoga video to come. I'm actually really excited about that.
Yeah, hopefully that works out, because it'd be great, and she's great at it, so...
But thank you for tuning in and listening to us chatter on. We hope you enjoyed it. All right. Bye!
I'm going to show you and your audience, though, a nice, easy flow that will help you get into these other poses in celebration of the summer solstice, using moves like Crescent Pose, the warrior poses, to illustrate the masculine energies. And then I'm going to do some moonflower and sunflower for harnessing just more of that sun energy, feminine energy.